Welcome to the live stream. Today we'll be working on another gradation for this print that we're working on yesterday. So after I finished, I did this brown tree color last night. So this is the base tone for pretty much the whole print. And today we'll be working on top of this shape, which is the ground plane receding into the distance. Before I get started, I need to cover this area. I just need to find a piece of tape. I realize my microphone hasn't been working on these streams. I went back and watched some videos in the past, and the microphone seemed to be working then, so I don't know what's going on. But right now I'm going to cover this area because there's still a little pigment on there, and I don't want this shape when I'm rubbing with the Baron. I don't want it to bang into, it will bang into this area here, and I don't want that, as you can see here. So it would hit somewhere around here, and I don't want an impression of that shape. So I'm going to just cover it with that piece of paper, and this will just protect it. Give it a little bit of a softer edge there. So I mixed out my colors here, and I applied them to my little test strip that I have. Morning Pam. These are the colors we're working with today. And I added a lot of transparent base to these. So this was very transparent. You can almost see through. Wonder if I put a piece of paper underneath, you can actually see through. So if I lift my glass palette here, my working area, let's see. You can see through that pigment a little bit. And just as a reminder, oh, I should pull up the comments. Let me do that first. And just as a reminder, I have, this is the image I'm using to get my color reference from. So if anyone's interested, his name is John Henry Twachtman, and he is of German descent. He grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. I watched a little bit about him last night. I clicked on one video and just listened to it while I was eating my lunch, actually. And yeah, he grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. And then he moved to Connecticut for a while. He was doing well for himself. And then he moved to Massachusetts, and I think that's where he lived until he passed away. He passed away at a very young age. I think he was 49 years old. Don't quote me on that, but it was very young. But he's kind of considered a tonalist painter. But he had his own simplified way of painting. But I really like the color scheme and the transparency of his painting technique on this one. So I'm just kind of using it as reference. I'm not matching the colors exactly. I'm just using them as something to look at while I'm mixing my colors. And that's important. The last print I just kind of was winging the color. Just went for a general blue, general green, general orange. I just wanted to kind of make them nice, and but it's a little too bright for me. So I want something that's a little more naturalistic, a little more harmonious. All right, so we have a lot of ink now on my palette. Oh, so I wanted to see if this microphone is working. Let me know, before this rolls off the table, let me know if you can hear me clearly as I'm over here. I looked on the video last night, watched a little bit of it, and I noticed my microphone is not working I have a microphone, a lapel microphone, it's not working. So if you can hear me right now clearly, please let me know in the comments. Or was I sounding really far away just then? 'Cause if so, then the microphone is working only on my phone. So here we go, let's roll this out. We have the big roller today. There's a lot of ink on this roller. So I got louder. I'm gonna go away again. So I'm talking now, I'm talking. Is my voice getting further away as I move away from the camera? If so, let me know in the comments. Or was that just consistently the same level? I'm trying to figure this out. I don't know how to, so I always test the mic beforehand with just the, I always test the mic beforehand, but I guess when you open the YouTube app and you start the live stream, it doesn't recognize doesn't recognize the microphone. The microphone receiver is plugged into the bottom loud. Okay. So I guess it's working. So loud means as I was walking away, my voice didn't get further away. There's a lot of ink on this block right now, so I'm going to be very careful that this doesn't slide around. I guess I could test it my own way. I could just turn up, I'm listening. I'm going to test this real quick, hold on. I guess I could test it my own way. I could just turn up, I'm listening. I'm going to test this real quick, hold on. All right, here goes the test. Test 1, 2, 3, test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3, test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3, test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3, test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3, test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. That was kind of trippy. All right, so my microphone's working. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Yeah, because when I'm walking around, I like to have the microphone at the same level, so I guess it's kind of important. So yesterday I walked into the other room to get like something from the other room, and I was talking, but you guys couldn't hear me. So what I did differently today was I just I turned off the app on my phone. I deleted, or I closed it out. I closed out all my apps on my phone. I plugged in the microphone, tested it through a video, made sure it was working properly through a video on my phone, and then I opened up the YouTube app. So I guess that's just the way I have to do it. I forgot to put down my little protective flap here, but that's okay. I'll just try to remember that for next time. So let's see what we have here. Another color added to the mixture. That's a nice color. I've added a lot of ink. I'm going to make sure that the ink isn't as... But you can see the distant mountains there now. That's a nice, still making a nice harmonious color scheme. But I would like this to be more transparent, so I'm going to use less ink. I actually did one off camera to test first. This one's a little bit nicer. You can see it's nice and even, nice transparent. So I'm not going to use as much ink. I pulled too much back. This is pretty much, the ink is pretty much dry from yesterday. I didn't put any drying agent into it. The paper soaked it up pretty well last night. It's a little too dark almost for me. It's a little too dark. I almost want all these colors to be lighter. Yeah, I was going for a light impression, but I don't know if this is gonna be... This is almost darker than... I don't really want to mix all of these colors over again. So I'm undecided now, because this is a little too dark for me. I have to mix a little bit of white into all of these colors. So that's the frustrating part about printmaking. Like, I want to be lazy and just be like, oh, I'll just keep going with it. But if we look here, so from this print, you can see it's already much darker than what's in this print. But we do want this to be darker this time and the rock face to be lighter. So that's the difference. So this is going to be darker, this is going to be lighter. So I think we'll be all right. Let's just go with it. I'm being lazy. I'm just going to try to apply a little bit less ink. Today I'm being lazy. Could also use a lighter Baron. Let's try the Hone Baron. Just keep it nice and flat. This might not pull as much ink up off of the print or off the block. Yeah, I'm liking this. Yeah, it's an interesting, getting some interesting colors for this one. It's almost starting to look like early morning kind of colors, like sunrise. So after this impression or this color, I'll be doing the gradation of the shadow masses on the rocks, which will be this one. I'm going to do this next. So it'll be the little gradation, the shadow mass that's in the rock feature here. Yeah, this is looking better. So we're starting to get, the sun is starting to come out. Let me get my cardboard sun blocker. Piece of cardboard here that blocks the sunlight from entering the room, or entering here. I'm going to start thinking about doing an evening scene of this one. So I need to pull up some reference. It's going to be a Hasui reference. colors. See, I really like this gray, cool gray now in the distance. I don't know if it resembles, or if it's looking like our. Let me just put a piece of scrap paper down here. Let me just put this here. I'm just gonna pull up my reference real quick so we can have a look at them together, side by side. So this is has much more yellow in it. So we got this cool in the sky. So I'm going to bring some of these cool kind of colors in this gray. This gray color will be in here. And then these greens. This green here will be the trees down here, and I'll kind of try to make this brighter for the trees up here. Maybe a little bit brighter green. Not exactly these same colors. These colors have almost like a phthalo in them, or a viridian or something. They're almost a little too green for me. But that'll be over top. But this is much warmer than this reference. This is much more cool. So even though we're using this as a reference, we're still getting our own variation of colors. But still, this isn't, because I would never have chosen these colors, I think, on my own. So you need to look at something to reference. I think that's important. It's just a starting point, or be influenced by something else, or motivated by something else. Pull back the stream. So hopefully this has been interesting for everyone. And now I'm thinking about different YouTube videos and finding my own unique, what do I have that's unique, and speaking with you guys, Marius. You know, living in New York City is a unique thing, and visiting the Met, not everyone's allowed to do that or able to do that. So I'm thinking, go to the Met, research some paintings or some prints or some artwork, anything. Document that process, come back to the studio, apply it to the work that I'm doing, talk a little bit about the artist, that's the background, relating it to the context that I'm working in, and just kind of put a little bit of history and a little bit of art history and the history of another artist into these videos might be just enough to make them a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to do that with this video. I did take some video of this painting when I was there. But if I have to go back and get some other, I have some other footage of images of the outside of the Met and the inside. I'm thinking of ideas, because you can film from your phone inside the mat. You're allowed to take pictures. So it'd be cool to like getting some shots of like going up, I don't know if anyone's been there, but coming into the lobby, going up the central staircase. I'm getting a smudge. I got a smudge on this one. So as I'm laying the print down, as I'm getting this print into the Kento, my paper is too low at an angle. I need to make sure it's raised up higher. And because this is a thicker stock paper, I'm not bending the paper as much. It's very rigid, so I'm getting down really low. And I'm getting a little smudge on the margin. So, who wants to claim this one? But that's alright, it doesn't bother me. So you just have to learn from your mistakes. Just don't do it again. If you do it again, then there's going to be a problem. So with that other paper, I could bend the corner in and keep the paper raised up higher, but this is a more rigid paper, so it's hitting. It's hitting the edge. Now we have some garbage on the block. Got that off. So let's make sure we're careful with this one. So I'm keeping the paper higher. Kind of bending it a little more down, nice and flat. I pull it off the block, you need to be careful too. Make sure you pull it straight up. Excuse me. Yeah, Pam gets all my prints that have smudges on them. I don't think I need any more ink here. Seems like there's enough. You know, I realized I could do an easy fix if I wanted to lighten this up easily. Just thought of an idea. Just thought of an idea. I'll do it after this. I know this is an addition. They all should probably be the same. We'll see. Let's see. So same thing. I'm going to make sure not to get this smudged. Yeah, that's not bad. I'm happy with this so far. So we have 3 more to do. What I was going to do is I could just I could take away half of this ink from here, just scrape this all away. That's like 1 inch of ink. And then I could take half of a portion of this ink, mix a little bit more white in with it, and just add another 1 inch strip of lighter value here. So we'll just shift this whole thing 1 inch this way, and you would get a little bit more white or a lighter color in the distance, and you would just shift it over about 1 inch. That's probably one easy way to fix this problem. So instead of rolling from here, I'd be rolling from like over here, and then there'd be another level of light green or yellow there. So that's one way to just shift that value up a little bit. So that's your pro tip for the day, how to correct the value without having to remix all of your color. You just shift the gradient from this end to this end. Just move it over a little. I've done that in the past actually. I don't do it very often, but I don't do this much. I don't do oil-based printing that much. This is still really new to me. So we're still learning here. Careful, the registration. Gotta remind myself every time. Also, I have the habit of pressing down with my fingers, and it leaves little fingerprints. I'm not applying tons of pressure with this bearing. Just lightly. I'm trying to like not pull so much ink off the. So I'll show you an example. I'm gonna just rub in at the bottom here. I rubbed in some of the bearings from the ball bearing. You're not gonna see this, but you can see the difference there. You can see the lines and the darkness. So if I rubbed super hard with the ball bearing, I'd get this super flat. And now I'm getting this kind of grainy texture, which is the grain of the wood. And it's showing through from underneath. It's more transparent. That's what I'm going for right now. So I'm just lightly going over the surface here. And if I were to dig it in really hard into the back of the paper with this, it would just become super flat. And I'm liking this little bit of a grainy atmosphere and texture. So I think one of the first ones here, let's compare it to one of the first. This is the one I did first on the, you can see the difference. This had way too much ink, and this has less ink, less pressure. So it's a huge difference. It's almost a value, that's one value lighter on this one, almost. So what we can do with this one is we can work on this one at the end. We'll do that after we're finished here. So we have 2 more, and then we'll work on cleaning those up a little bit, or lightening, and we'll blot them with some paper. I have to hold that block down because it's just sticking to the roller. It's lifting up the block. This wood is very light. Oh, going low again, so I got to be careful. Fingerprints. Nice and easy pressure. I like that texture. It's really nice. One more. You can also see some of the ball bearing marks on this one in a circular motion. So we're controlling how much pigment we want on the paper by how much pressure we're putting into this bearing. So with this one, I'm pressing really light, just hovering over the surface. Let's see how light this one comes out. That one's just real light touch. Yeah, that's really nice. Let's compare it to the first one we did where I had heavy ink, heavy pressure. The big difference. Very big difference. This has some more. This looks more like Mokuhanga. This looks like an oil painting. So this is what we're going for. So let's work on this one, the first few that have too much oil pigment on the surface. So for this, we're going to need some paper. So what I'm going to do is lay this paper down, and I'm not going to let it move. So I'm going to hold it in place with my hands. I'm going to burnish, rub this area. I'm not applying tons of pressure. Just nice and even pressure here. Making sure the paper doesn't move. Because if this paper shifts, you're going to get a ghost impression. So when I peel this off, I have to be careful as well. So there's a decent amount of ink here. So we just pulled that much ink off the surface. So I'm going to cut this paper. I'm going to cut this off. And I'm going to do it again. This time, I'm going to use the ball bearing. That's a little dangerous because it's gripping too much into the paper. So this time I'm going to use the edge of the bearing. I'm going to turn the bearing in a little bit more and try to pull a little bit more pigment off if I can. this print. So you can see I pulled a little bit more pigment off. So it just knocked it back a little. It took that shine of all the oil off. So this one was similar. And I'm going to do this one as well because it's a little too much, I think. So we'll just do it once. So I wouldn't want to put this down on top of that because then you'll get this ink on top. So this is enough for an overlap here. I could go through all the prints and do this, and it'll just knock off the top layer of ink. It's softened. Normally I'd be doing this with some newsprint, but I'm out of newsprint right now, so. So we just pulled that ink off. So it's just called let's see this one. Maybe I'll do this one too. So if I fold this now in half, so those ink surfaces are facing each other. I can use this paper again. So it's just blotting the ink off. That's nice. Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of keep doing this with all of them, I think. I'm wasting this nice paper. This is just copy paper for my printer. But I don't have any newsprint at the moment. I think about, and then the rest kind of are not so bad. So I'm happy with that. So that just took some of the ink off of the paper there. So that's nice. Oops. Need to clean off this surface, this block real quick. That's good enough. Now we're going to work with this block. This block here. So we have to clean up this ink I'll move this roller away for now. We need a roller to do a gradation. I think it's the squeaky roller. Sorry. Sorry, we have to use the squeaky roller. So I'm going to take this palette. I have a small palette here. I'm going to save these colors. I use them for use this color for the trees when I get there. These are just little glass palettes that I make. Just put some cardboard on the back and tape the edges. So you have to waste some ink. I mean, it's just part of the process. You have to waste a little bit of ink, just like an oil painting. Most of the paint, I think, when I oil paint, it gets dried up on my palette. So that's just part of the process. So what colors are we doing for this gradation? Well, we're going to start with our palette over here. I still have the white, that light blue that we mixed yesterday. So that's a good place to start. So I'm going to take this white, this cool color, just put it on my palette here. And that was this color that we're using here yesterday. So we really just want it to be slightly darker than that. Slightly darker. And we wanted to I introduced another color. It's this red here. This red is called, that's going to be way too much. Way too much. That red is called Red Earth, and as you can see, it's very strong. Way too strong. I'm going to stick to this earth red. It's a little bit nicer. It's burnt sienna. A little bit of black in there. Just altering this color very slowly, just little bits at a time. So I want it to be slightly darker than that cool white there. So I'm using this as a reference. So this is nice. So I'm going to make one that's a little bit darker than that. I'm going to do a gradation here, so just a little bit of this black. Oh, I'm back. See, someone calls me. When someone calls me, it freezes up my phone. So we're getting close to... Oh, back on? Yes. We're getting close to this color. It's a little warmer, but I just wanted a little bit darker, so a little black, a little bit more blue. So we have this to this to this. I'm going to take a little bit of this gray, add it here. And just whatever was left of my palette knife there, I'm going to add it to that original color that we used yesterday, so that'll just darken it up slightly. So we have 1, 2, 3. All right. Now we need to mix in, I want this to be transparent, so I need to mix in some transparency, which will give us some more ink here to work with. This stuff is messy. So moving my ink up on the palette, I want to make some room here so I can get a better, lay it out better for the roller. Let's put this stuff away. Clean up my mess here. It's important to stay clean and organized when you're doing this. Should be enough ink, I'm thinking. I can get another color out of this, I think. So I'm going to start with this dark. I'm going to put it on my knife here. I'm going to lay it down here. Just kind of work it into a nice little pile. Now I'm going to take half of this, add it to here. I'm getting a second color now. Just mix that together. Again, just work it into a pile. I'm going to put it right up next to the color that's next to it. I'm going to pull some of this forward too. Okay, now we need to take half of this, mix it in with this. So I'm just adding a fourth color by taking half of each pile and mixing it together. Need to make sure I have enough laid out for the width of my roller. So let's see. This is a 5-inch roller, 6 inches, so I need enough there so I can put that white right towards the end there. Just like putting frosting on a cake or something. So there's our little gradation. So now let's get going. First, clean up this area quickly. Just leave that in a pile. You can reuse these colors. All right. So it takes a little time. I just have to move my prints down here. To make sure we don't, so this last impression is still wet on the page. So we gotta make sure we don't get our fingers into the wet ink. I'm gonna move this one up towards the top, the one that got the smudge. It'll be the first print I do now because it'll be like my test print now. All right, so let's get the roller going. Do we have anyone left? 6 people. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for being here. If you're just logging on, we're doing woodblock printmaking. So here we go. The squeaky roller. Sorry for the noise. I'll try to cover the mic. can see how much lighter this is from the last time. Last time we were almost to black. So you can see how much lighter this one's going to be. I'm going to go for a light application of ink again. So let's see how this looks. So we're going to take our little smudged print, because this one's the least successful out of all of them so far. Not that that's ruining the print, but it's being careful not to get my fingers on that wet part of the ink. I think we can use a smaller cover sheet here. Again, light pressure for this. I don't want to go crazy here. And there we go. Now we have some rock texture. So yeah, we're flipping the values here. The last one, the ground plane was light, the rocks were dark. This time the rocks are light and the ground plane's dark. So we're switching. And there's a lot of black texture in here that's gonna go on top. So all that black texture will be on top of this. So this is just like a shadow mesh. Yeah, so that's how we mix the colors. You're welcome, Pam. It takes some time. You have to really take your time with it, but you get faster as you go. But it's a key part of the process to mix the colors, and you really want to figure it out, beforehand, because it takes so long to do that. That's why if you get them wrong, you have to then take them all back, mix them all again, lay them all out again, clean the roller, roll it out again. It's a whole process. So you really want to get the colors right first before you commit to it. That's why I use these little strips, and I document my colors along the way so that I could say that this was the first color we laid down, or this one, and then you could put the colors right on top of it. You can see how they're working, and you can get a really good idea of how it's gonna look. So it's really important part of the process. And this is where the mixing of the colors, where having a background with oil painting and pigments really helps. And for Mokahanga, I would say dabbling in some watercolor painting would be a good idea. Because you're essentially doing the same thing as watercolor painting with Mokahanga. And for this Western inks or oil-based inks, I would recommend using acrylics, gouache, or oil paint to familiarize yourself with the colors and the mixing of the colors and pigments. And the gouache is a water-based medium. I actually just bought some for the first time and I started using them, and they're really interesting actually. So I'm going to start using them more for some studies. So I'm paying attention to where my fingers are going, because the ink is wet on the other side here. We don't have to be so careful with the smudging on this one, because the block is further away from the printing area is further away from the Kento. Very light. application. I want that color that's underneath to show through a little. It's just like a ghost effect, just like a hint. And our print is starting to come together. The rock at the Gunks is very white like this. It's very light gray, so it's actually a good good representation of the actual rock surface. So my video, oh, I could plug that in probably. My my iPad is dying, so I just have to lay this down, get a charge on it. So we'll do a few more, and then we'll end this stream. And I'm going to start thinking about the night scene. So with that, let's take a pause for a second. So with that, I'm going to carve a moon shape somewhere in the sky here. I have to figure it out in Photoshop. And I'll carve a moon shape out of this block. First, I'm going to transfer this block to another part of the wood surface, probably on this side, so I have it, so I can carve this out exactly as I have it here. But then I'm going to create a moon shape, and it's just going to be a negative space. I'm going to use that Kitakata paper that I used before. So this yellowish toned paper, and that will be a perfect color for the moon shape. And then I'm going to do a nighttime scene with some dark purples and blues, and that will be the third version of this print. And I plan on starting that probably today, actually. See that I missed a couple areas here. So I'm just setting these into the drying rack after they're done. So after this impression, we have the bottom trees, the top trees, and then the key block. So that will probably be happening tomorrow, and then the next day, I guess. So I am going to let them fully dry overnight. So there we have it. I think we'll do one more and then we'll say goodbye for now. But I am going to start the next color, so I don't know, maybe I'll turn back on the live stream later. Maybe do a double header today. I just have to cut some paper to figure out where I'm going to put that moon. And then look for a reference, a Hasui print that I want to reference for colors. Again, I'm not going to copy the colors, but it's good to reference something. He's done so many good nighttime scenes with moons reflecting. And I really enjoy this process. Every time I pull an impression off, I see the print developing, I just get really excited. All right, this is it, and then I'll be wrapping it up for now. Maybe I'll see you later. I'm not sure. Someone's asking, do you make registration? Sorry, I can't see my... Did I make a registration block? Is that what that says? You make registration look easy. Oh, yeah, it's easy. There's just a little corner here, and there's a little flat. So it's pretty easy. When you practice many times, it's easy. Hold it in between your fingers, and then you push down with your thumb. Same thing on this side. You hold the paper with your finger, you press down on the kento with your thumb to lock it in place. So I'm just guiding, I'm using this left hand here, guiding it into the corner. When the paper touches where you need it, you just push down with your thumbnail, and then you go to this part. Pinching the paper here, between these fingers, you're guiding it in. Fold it down flat, and that's all it takes. It's super easy. You can almost do it with your eyes closed, if you could feel the corner where the corner was. And I've done this probably a lot of times, probably tens of thousands of times. So you think about a print that has 10 colors, and then you got 10 prints. That's 100 times you're putting a piece of paper in the registration. But I do prints that have 25 impressions, and I'm doing editions of 25, so it builds up over time. Your skills build up over time. So this is the Japanese way of registering prints. They're called kento marks. So that's it for now. It's been 75 minutes. There's only been a few people on here today, but I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good afternoon. Maybe I'll see you in a little while. I'm not sure. Bye for now.